so that's not... I hadn't heard that that's a myth. I've got 3 kids, 9 to 4, and I still thought that. Hi, it's Beck here. Welcome to another episode of Table Talk, where we give short answers to tall topics. And with me today is midwife, child health nurse, and director of Wholehearted Family Health, Andrea Fallon. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
What are we bringing to the table today?
Today we're going to talk a bit about some of the common baby sleep myths, and I'll give a few tips and hopefully some helpful advice around around sleep for your baby.
I also should have welcomed your daughter as well. I'm not sure if she's going to give us any answers today, but hey, it's lovely to have her here. And let's start with the internet. Usually new mums, first-time parents, we're going to the internet, but there's just so many conflicting, articles telling us how we can teach our child to sleep.
Yeah.
Where do we start?
Oh, well, it's a good question, isn't it? It is. It's so overwhelming. Probably the biggest problem that I see actually with mums coming to me is they're just kind of almost analysis paralysis with all the information. So, yeah, I guess the first thing is the main takeaway point, if no one takes anything else away from today, is that sleep is not a skill that we actually even have to teach. It's a biological function of the body, and it's controlled by the natural sleep regulation system. So I guess in some ways that's reassuring, because there's a lot of pressure. You're the parent, you have to teach. It's something they have to learn, but it's not quite that way, and we'll go into that more, obviously.
Yeah, of course, because the number one thing people say to you when you're pregnant is enjoy your sleep now. And I think that you're just so focused. Well, I was anyway, focused on being like, all right, let's get them to sleep through the night. How do we do this? How do we sleep train? But let's go through some of the myths first.
Yes.
What are some of the myths surrounding sleep?
Yeah, well, the first one is that you have to teach your baby to self-settle, or they're never going to sleep.
Yeah.
Or that you're going to have bad sleep forever. And so often people talk about, bad sleep associations or bad habits with this. And so there's that heavy emphasis around settling techniques and avoiding certain bad habits. So anything that involves your baby basically being more dependent on you, so say feeding to sleep or rocking to sleep, would be considered a bad habit in a lot of that advice that's out there. And you're sort of told, avoid these things, otherwise you're going to set yourself up for failure. But we can be reassured, like I said, that sleep is actually biological. And so those selling methods don't really have a great impact on how well we sleep, or how often we wake up or anything like that. So
wow, so that's not I hadn't heard that that's a myth. I've got 3 kids, 9 to 4, and I still thought that you need to have good sleep association, sleep cues. If you help them get to sleep, they'll never be able to get themselves back to sleep. Yeah. But what you're saying is that's actually not true.
Yeah, no, not true.
Oh, wow. So hit me with some other myths. What other myths are out there? Because you've already blown my mind in the first 5 minutes.
Well, I guess maybe actually I'll go into a little bit about that sleep regulation system, because maybe people are going, well, what then? It doesn't, what you're saying is such a big difference from the advice out there. So just around that sleep regulation system, there's, without getting too technical, there's 2 regulators in the body. There's the circadian clock, which is that day-night rhythm. That's what gets messed up when we're jet lagged. Most people are kind of aware of that one. And then there's the sleep pressure, which just builds throughout the day, should be nice and high by the time we fall asleep. That's that feeling of sleepiness, basically. And when those things are in alignment, and when the sleep pressure's high, that's when little ones, or us adults, can fall asleep quickly and easily. And so that's where that settling method doesn't really come into play. If that makes sense.
So does a good routine help solidify good sleeping habits?
Good routines, that can definitely help, especially from toddlerhood beyond. Toddlers thrive on routine and predictability. Babies are a little bit more under that, on demand kind of thing, you know, feed on demand, sleep on demand, and a little bit, you know, you're kind of guided by them a bit more.
So what about, there's a lot of talk around the amount of hours your child or baby needs to sleep depending on their age.
Yeah.
Is this true, or is this another one of those myths?
Yeah, so I guess that comes back to another myth is that, you know, that for certain ages, there's an exact number of sleep your baby should have. And so there was a really big study done in Australia in 2014 that it was massive, thousands of kids. And it showed that babies between 4 months and 12 months of age, there was a huge variation in normal in how much sleep they needed. It was anywhere from 10 hours in a 24-hour period up to 18 hours in a 24-hour period, like massive. And so it's fine. A lot of this sleep advice works really well for babies who are high sleep needs. They'll kind of sleep regardless of what you do.
Yeah.
But if you've got a low sleep needs baby, that's where you might struggle with some of these, you know, some of this advice.
Yeah.
Because your little one probably isn't going to fit in the, you know, the square peg round hole kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your advice then for new time parents who are struggling with sleep and just want to help their child get, I guess, the best quality sleep possible?
Yeah, I guess you can relax a lot and follow your baby's lead is a big one. You know, I know people talk about cues. Sometimes some babies are hard to read, but try and follow their cues where you can. Avoiding dark rooms in the day is a really big one because that actually completely confuses that circadian clock. So and a lot of that sleep advice is, you know, and a lot of what mums tell me is like, I'm sitting all day in a dark room trying to pat my baby off to sleep.
Yeah.
It feels horrible, it's stressful, and I spend more time doing that than they actually sleep.
Yeah, I remember that time.
Yeah, so you can relax about all of that, you know, because we don't want the dark rooms anyway, and if that sleep pressure's nice and high, they'll just take what they need, they'll fall asleep.
I wish I knew you 9 years ago, and I think I would have saved a lot more stress. Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure to have a chat with you and learn more, and I cannot wait to learn more in the future.
Great, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. I have been chatting to Andrea Fallon, midwife, child health nurse and director of Wholehearted Family Health. And thank you for joining us on Table Talk. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. You can check out more Table Talk episodes on our website and Instagram page at 98.5. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.